Hello and welcome to Elizabeth's Craft Room. Today I'm going to show you how to do this project here, which we did at class very recently. It's using the stamp set Birthday Blooms, and we're going to be doing some heat embossing, and we're also going to be doing some embossing using a scoring tool, and I'll show you how we're doing that. So I'm going to start off with a piece of vellum. And this is our vellum cardstock, so it's nice and thick. I'm going to stamp with Versamark. Just give a little rub over with my embossing buddy first. That stops any static, so that you don't get the embossing powder where you don't want it. Press that well. And stamp that down. It's quite a big stamp, so I'm putting a bit of pressure on there with my hand. And then I'm going to bring in my embossing powder. And the easiest way to do this is just to pour it on with a teaspoon and give it a little tap. And that's just stuck on all of those places where the Versamark was. And then I'm going to be a bit noisy now and heat this. Bring this closer to the camera so you can see. See, as soon as it goes shiny like that, you move the heat gun onto the next place. There we go. Isn't that pretty? I mean, it's pretty just like that. You could leave it just like that and put that onto a card and it would be lovely. I'm going to just leave this to cool just for a minute, and it will flatten out just a little. And in the meantime, I'm going to stamp my greeting. I've got a card front here. I'm using A4 card cut in half and then just a layer on there, which is about 3 3/4 by 5.5 inches is my layer. Okay, so I'm just stamping the greeting, happiest of birthdays to you, down at the bottom there. And the technique I'm using for putting the ribbon on here, I'm using the seam binding ribbon, which is really soft. And I'm going to use snail and put the snail all the way across in a line. I'll kind of use my grid paper to sort of get it straight. It's about right. And just put plenty of snail on there. And then I'm going to start over the edge. I'm going to do some little folds in the ribbon. And it just gives a bit of texture to the card. And then snip that off. Turn it over and put a little bit of snail on the back. I get that one, there we go. And that will hold that in place, and then we'll glue it on the other layer. That's going to go onto here. Okay, so back to our vellum, and I'm going to move the camera a little closer. So the first thing I'm going to do is to add some colour to the leaves, and the way I'm going to do that is turn it over on the back, and I'm going to just use a marker. I'm picking out the same green, which is the very bright Cucumber Crush. And everywhere that we've got leaves on there, I'm just going to colour inside the lines. I don't need to do the individual portions. I can go right over the veins, if you like, of those leaves, because the silver embossing will cover up the ink going over there. So as you can see, it's going to look quite messy on the back, but hopefully, if I've got this right, it will look quite neat on the front. There we go. And I'm just going to blot that on the paper. Can you see how that looks? I'm just blotting that on my grid paper. It does take a moment for that ink to dry, so it just means I don't get any ink where I don't want it. Pretty. So you could go ahead and colour in the flowers in pinks and or whatever colour you like. But I'm doing something slightly different because I want this to be a white rose. So you can't really see the lines very easily, so I'm just going to put, this is our pricking mat, and I'm just going to put a piece of white copy paper. Now you can see the lines. And I'm going to use the big end of our scoring tool, and I'm just going to scribble over the petals. Now this time I'm actually going inside the petals, each petal. I don't really want to go over the lines, and I'm just, as though I'm colouring in with a pencil, I'm just rubbing this embossing tool over each petal. And what you can do is do a few and then turn it over, and I don't know how well that's going to pick up. Can you see that that is now showing as a much brighter white where I've gone over and embossed, and I'm just kind of pressing that vellum out a little bit so it's also slightly kind of concave, now convex, whichever one it is, pointing out towards you. Okay, so I'll just carry on and fill those other bits in. I'm just going to finish off by now just putting a little bit of colour onto the stems. Might do that with a fine end of my marker. And again, I'll just blot those where I've done them. There we go. Now it depends the effects that you want as to which colour you want to back that with. I actually want this to be onto the white. I want a nice white on white pop. And so what I'm going to actually do is to cut this out. Now, so this is going to involve some fussy cutting. So I'm just going to follow round the embossed edge, but because the silver embossed edge is quite thick, it's quite a forgiving cut, so it'll take me a few moments to cut this out. So just bear with me and I will go ahead and do that. So I've gone ahead and cut that out. Now you can see up here I've actually left some pieces. I haven't tried to go right on in there. That will still look fine. You can take it right down to the detail if you wish, but for my purposes I'm quite happy with that. Now I'm going to stick that onto the white. The best way to stick vellum onto cardstock is Tombow glue, but it does need to be very thin. So I'm going to put my glue on using the fine tip end. The glue will spread the green ink if I'm not careful, so I'm going to not put my glue onto the leaves initially, because I don't want to spread any green onto the flowers. And I'm using the spready end, the other end, that is the technical term, to spread the glue out very thinly onto there. And then just some tiny little dots right out at the tips of the leaves there. I'm not putting it all over. Flip this this over. Stick that down. There you go. And doing that manual embossing with the scoring tool really makes a difference to the whiteness, if you like, of that rose. So I'm going to turn this over, put a bit of Tombow on the back, and lay that down. There you go. And of course, naked envelopes are not allowed, so using another stamp from that same stamp set, the Birthday Blooms, I've popped one on there. So if you don't already have a Stampin' Up demonstrator and you're in the European market, I would love to sell you this stamp set. Did you know you can go to my blog, elizabethscraftroom.blogspot.com, which will take you in turn to my online store, and you can order from me and goodies can be shipped to your home. And I would really appreciate your business because it really helps me to carry on financing doing my weekly videos. I hope you've enjoyed your visit to Elizabeth's Craft Room today, and I look forward to welcoming you again soon.